good people? It's been a long time. I've been still on a family vacation, so have been spending time with family versus obviously doing podcasts. So hope you can understand. Family time's important. So the last 2 or 3 days, I've been pretty close to having zero cell reception. So I've been really disconnected from what's going on in the sports world. But have seen Russell Westbrook is now an LA Laker. Carson Wentz is injured. That's super surprising. So a lot of things going on. Texas and Oklahoma are now part of the SEC, or will be as of 2025 or something like that. But a lot of things happening. So to kick it off, definitely want to talk about Russell Westbrook going to the Lakers. Russell Westbrook is a great basketball player. I don't think anyone who watches basketball can say that he's not that. He's definitely got some deficiencies in his game, but not a big deal as far as, it doesn't take away from his greatness as a player. But with that being said, this is not a fit at all. I just don't understand for the Lakers to bring in a point guard who can't shoot the ball well, who gets moments in his game where he turns into just like a bull, where he's going to try to take over the game. And he's got times where that works well, and he does. And he also has times where it doesn't work well, and he doesn't do that. The last stretch with the Wizards before the playoffs came, he actually played pretty well. He was understanding that he wasn't a shooter, and he was attacking the basket. He was being more aggressive, and he was helping his team win. But in order for Russ to do those things, he has to have the ball. And unless I'm mistaken, LeBron James is going to have the ball a lot. He's a point forward, a point guard, whatever you want to call him. He wants to have the ball a lot. And my thought is, number one, it's not going to work with both of them trying to have the ball a lot, because Russ off the ball is not that effective. He's effective when the ball is in his hand. And on the flip side, if we're being honest about it, LeBron's not that effective off the ball either. He is a guy that he just likes to have the ball in his hand, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, really, LeBron hasn't even been off the ball since Miami days. I just don't. I don't see how this works. I think the Lakers got worse. I think not having those guys on the bench that you just traded. I believe KCP was a starter. But you've got, Kyle Kuzma, for all his knucklehead stuff, he was extremely inconsistent. I will give you that. But with being as young as he is, I just don't think they did a good job of carving a rollout to him and communicating that to him. Either you need to come in as the leader of the second unit, and you got green light all day. Go get it. Go get you 20 points in 22 minutes. Go, be the Lou Williams for us. Go do that. They didn't do a good job of communicating that to him, and he didn't play well. He was inconsistent. Like I said, I don't think the Lakers did a good job communicating that to him. Also going to put a lot of onus on Kyle Kuzma as well. But KCP is a 3-and-D guy. So your defense just got worse, and your shooting also got worse. I don't think that's a good thing. And then with Montrezl Harrell, it's a guy who, energy guy off the bench. And I know people are going to say, well, he didn't even play in the Lakers, playoffs and things like that. I'm like, I don't think that's Montrezl Harrell's fault. He can't check himself into the games. Now, if you want to say that, maybe he wasn't practicing hard, I think we can both agree that that's most likely false. That's not the case. Look, if you get a bad matchup and a guy doesn't play a lot in a playoff series, okay, cool. That doesn't mean you trade the guy away. Montrez is a guy that will give you a solid 15-7, 16-7. We'll give you a double-double every now and then if he gets the minutes. But for the Lakers, they just never. I just don't get what they're doing. To me, this all screams of desperation. That we're desperate. We got to get a star, even if it's one that we know doesn't fit. And I just don't think the Lakers are better. Your shooting got worse. Your defense got worse. Your bench got shorter. And your cap situation, you have essentially no cap money. So how do you replenish that bench that you just traded away? I don't really know. And also too, unless you're giving me a all-time great player, trading 3 guys to get 1 back, he's got to be special. And Russell Westbrook is special, but not like a James Harden special, Kevin Durant special, Steph Curry special, LeBron special. So I don't love that. And ultimately, I think the Lakers are in a worse spot today than they were before they made this trade. I truly do think that because you go from, for instance, a young guy, THT, he goes from most likely, being a bench guy to now he's probably going to have to start. He probably has to start. And it can go one of 2 ways. It can be a guy is put in a pressure situation. He steps in, crushes it. Or you put a guy in a situation like that and it doesn't go well and you mess up his development and now he's Kyle Kuzma. I mean, who knows? We'll see, but that's my thought on the Lakers. Carson Wentz is injured. Surprise, surprise. Sounds like it was a freak injury. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a season-ending one. He's going to miss some games, though, and that's obviously not great. I think Jacob Eason is their backup. We'll see what happens, but, I mean, it's basically August now. And it's just not what you want. You ideally you want your guy coming into camp healthiest part of the season and ready to roll. So we'll see what happens with Carson Wentz. I mean, if he misses 2 games, that'll probably be. I think best case is he misses no games, but realistically, you're probably looking at maybe 2 games. I mean, even if he misses no games but misses all of training camp, that's still not ideal. It's not great. You want him getting that chemistry with the playmakers there and, with the Colts. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, there's not too much to talk about. He's just hurt. They don't know. They're doing scans. We'll see. And then last thing, Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC. We'll see what happens as far as realignments. Realignments don't have to happen, but been seeing a lot that it probably will happen. They're talking about Alabama and Auburn possibly going to the East, Oklahoma and Texas being in the West to replace those 2 teams. We'll see what happens. I just, for Oklahoma and Texas, I get it because I think SEC is the most powerful conference football-wise in the country. And I think the Big 12 was probably 4th in line of the Power 5, maybe 3rd, if you want to argue ACC versus Big 12. But, the Big 12 has gotten 0 teams in the national championship since the playoff era. Granted, I get it. That's a relatively small sample size of 7 years, but nonetheless, you haven't done it. And for Texas and Oklahoma, specifically Texas, the dollars and the money that they have down there, I didn't think they needed to make a move. Really, for Texas, it's about getting your head coach right. Those boosters and the folks around the program want to be so involved, and you just don't know football. You don't know it because you're consistently picking the wrong guy. You're meddling in what he's trying to do at the program, and you're getting bad results. That's what happens when you meddle into programs. Nonetheless, I think Oklahoma and Texas just made their paths to a national championship or even a college football playoff infinitely harder. I mean, if you look at Oklahoma, you had Texas and basically Iowa State that you had to beat in the Big 12. Now, we don't need to go down the list. We don't need to do it. You're talking Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Auburn, I mean, I just I don't see, outside of money, which unfortunately money motivates a lot of decisions. For football wise, I don't see why you would make this move, but they did it, and here we are, and college football in 2025 is going to be pretty cool. So we'll see what happens. I mean, honestly, I don't know how the Big 12 sticks around, really. I mean, the two marquee programs that you have are gone now. So we'll see what happens. That's it for me. Y'all have a good one. I am in Hollister, California. My first time being in California. Making a quick pit stop here and then headed back home. Home to my sister's place in Santa Monica. So it's been a cool trip. Appreciate you guys. And that's it. Peace.